Hello. So, good morning, everyone. We'll wait for a few minutes. Only 3 students are there, and then we'll start. Hello. So, screen is visible to all. Okay. Students are very less today. Yes. How many students are there for one batch? In one batch, how many students are there? Okay, no problem. We'll start now. Hello. So, good morning, everyone. In last lecture, we started our sixth chapter, that is types of circuit breakers, right? So, in fifth chapter, we have seen what is mean by circuit breaker and why this circuit breaker is used. What is actually the operation of the circuit breaker? So, this circuit breaker is nothing but one type of switch which is used for the separation of any bus bars or any two contacts, right? So, when we are using the fuses or the switches, they are low capacity, they are having low capacity. But for example, if we consider the fuse, right, so we can use that fuse up to 11 kV only. Okay, up to 11 kV means its capacity is only 100 ampere. Up to 100 ampere we can use these fuses. But what about the circuits of higher voltages? So for that purpose, for separating these what we can say that the transmission lines or any equipment of the higher capacity, so to separate that we have to use the circuit breakers, right? So this circuit breaker is not means singly operating. It requires the relay, because the relay is a sensing device there, and this relay will give signal to the circuit breaker for the separation of the contacts. So this circuit breaker is nothing but a device which can make or break a circuit either automatically or manually, means from remote control. Okay, so this is making and also breaking the circuit. Okay, uh, this is the advantage of this circuit breaker over the fuse, because fuse can break automatically, but we have to connect mm, again, means we have to replace that fuse, and it is taking some time. But it is not for the circuit breakers. We can from remote control also we can again connect that. Okay, so that is the advantage, and it can be used for the high voltage circuits also. Okay, so this circuit breaker having two types. First is the AC circuit breaker and DC circuit breaker. Again, one more thing I want to say that here for circuit breaker, there are only two contacts. One is the fixed contact and second is the moving contact. So this fixed contact is fixed and moving contact is just touching, and we can just move to separate the two contacts. But the drawback is that again it is producing an arc, and when the arc will be produced, it will continue the flow of current as it is in the circuit. So we have to extinguish that arc, and this is the major problem in this fuses. So to extinguish that arc, different types of materials are used, just like oil, air, or gases, right? So according to that, there are different types of these circuit breakers. First is the AC circuit breaker, and second DC circuit breakers. AC means the circuit breakers which are used for AC, which are used for DC. These are the DC circuit breakers. These DC circuit breakers are used in HVDC circuits. Okay, means HVDC transmission lines. We can use this. And in AC circuit breakers, again there are two types. That is the high voltage circuit breaker and low voltage circuit breaker. Now, high voltage circuit breakers are again classified as oil circuit breaker and oil-less circuit breaker. Oil circuit breaker means their oil is used as a air quenching material, and second type is the oil-less circuit breaker, means we are not using their oil. So in oil circuit breaker, again there are two types. That is the bulk oil circuit breaker, and second is the low oil, or it is also called minimum oil circuit breaker. Bulk means we are using oil in the bulk form, and in minimum or low oil circuit breaker, very less percentage of oil is used only for the arc extension, and the other part of that circuit breaker is cooled by using another means. Okay. And in oil-less circuit breakers, first type is air brake circuit breaker, air blast. Second type is air blast circuit breaker. Third is SF6 gas circuit breaker. And fourth one is the vacuum circuit breaker. Okay, so their vacuum is used as an air quenching material. After that, we have seen the oil circuit breakers, that is operation of these oil circuit breakers, how actually that arc is extinguished here. That is explained here, means these are the two contacts. One is the fixed contact, another is the moving contact, and in between these two contacts, when you are moving or separating that contact, the arc will be produced there. So that arc is producing very high heat, and we are using this oil as an arc extinguishing material. So that oil is also there, but when this arc will produce the heat, so that oil get evaporated. Okay, so uh, it will produce the hydrogen gas, and that gas and it is a high pressure gas. That gas will means it will reject that oil, means it will force that oil to go in uh, in the outward direction, and this bubble will be formed, and this bubble is of the oil vapor, that is nothing but the gas. Okay, so hydrogen gas. So one bubble is formed, and whatever be the heat of that arc is extracted by that oil. That's why that oil get deteriorated. So that heat get extracted by that oil, and your arc will be cooled there. Okay, and in this way arc get extinguished. So this is the function of this oil circuit breaker. There are some advantages, disadvantages, because as we are using the oil, this oil is inflammable, so that is the disadvantage. Otherwise we can use this oil as a cooling material, because we are using this in transformers also. Then we have seen the types of oil circuit breakers, that is the bulk oil circuit breaker, and second type is the low oil circuit breakers. So today we'll see this plain brake oil circuit breakers and arc control oil circuit breakers. Okay, so first type is the plain brake oil circuit breakers. So what is mean by this plain brake oil circuit breakers? So first we'll see this figure. Uh, in this plain oil circuit breaker, we have seen that there are two contacts. Every circuit breaker is having two contacts. One is a fixed and second is the moving contact. So these two here are the fixed contacts and this is the moving contact, and this is moved by using some action. Okay, so here some mechanical piston like etc is connected here. So the when these contacts are always closed, but when any fault will occur, this will be moved away and the arc will be struck there between these two contacts, and that will be cooled by this oil. Okay, that we have seen, and the oil used is here the transformer oil, and this air cushion is provided here for when your oil get heated, that oil get expanded, right? So that expansion and for this expansion and contraction purpose, this air cushion is also provided there. Okay, so we have seen this also. Then the arc control oil circuit breakers. Okay, up to plane we have completed, and arc control oil circuit breakers. Again, there are two types. So first is the self blast oil circuit breakers, and second is the force blast oil circuit breakers. So what is mean by self? Self means the arc itself is used for the twinching. Means the arc itself is used for the extension. And in force blast oil circuit breaker, this arc is provided by mechanical means external to the circuit breaker. Means we can control the arc by using any another means arc quenching material. Okay. And first type is the self blast circuit breaker. So in self blast circuit breakers, an insulating chamber or pot is placed which surrounds the contacts and gap between them. So here such a type of pot is there. Okay, you can see actually there are again three types of this self blast circuit breakers, but here this is one pot. Okay, and it is having fixed and moving contact. So such pot this pot is of different types, so according to the construction. Okay, so in this type of circuit breaker, this is an insulating chamber or pot is placed which surrounds the contacts and the gap between them. Okay, means one pot is there and it is having one fixed contact and another is moving contact. Okay, and whatever be the arc developed, means that arc developed will be within that pot only. Okay, within that pot only. uh, so when there is fault occurred, then the contacts will get separated under the oil and an arc is struck between them. So what will happen? When any fault will occur and you are moving that contact, means the arc will be developed between them. The arc will be developed between them, but whatever be that arc developed, that will be in that oil only, because that pot contains the oil also. Okay, that pot contains the oil. Now this area is surrounded by a pot or chamber, so the turbulence of oil will create high pressure inside the chamber. Okay, so that pot is surrounded that area of that arc is surrounded by a pot only, you can see here this only plain. So here what is happening when you are moving that contact, whatever be the arc, that arc will be developed here, and there will be oil, and this oil is surrounded by this pot only, by this pot only. And the turbulence, so the turbulence of oil will create high pressure, uh, means when arc will be developed, means it will produce the heat. Okay, and some action will be there. Some action means what? That the heat will be extracted by the oil. Okay, means some turbulence will be there, uh, and it will create high pressure inside the chamber. Okay, so when arc will be developed, it will create high pressure inside the chamber, and it will interrupt the arc. Okay, so when arc will be created, or that time, uh, that heat is extracted by that oil, and uh, that oil get heated, and it is producing, when the oil get heated, it is producing a very, it is producing gases. It is producing the hydrogen gas, and again that bubble will be produced there, and due to that, म्हणजे तो बबल तयार झाल्यानंतर काय होतंय, तो हायड्रोजन गॅस काय करतो, त्या ऑइलला बाजूला सरकवतो, आणि तिथे एक स्वतःचा एरिया तयार करून घेतो. म्हणजे काय होते, मग त्या ऑइल वरती प्रेशर येते. ओके, अँड द मॅग्निट्यूड ऑफ प्रेशर डेव्हलप ऑन द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ फॉल्ट करंट as pressure is generated by arc itself. Okay, so and outside there is chamber, so it cannot go anywhere. So that pressure is generated by arc itself, so its name is self blast oil circuit breaker, because here we are using chamber. Okay, so in plain uh, air circuit breaker, plain oil circuit breaker, what happens, there is one tank. Okay, and some space is provided here for the expansion and contraction of oil, just like your conservator in the transformer. But in this, there is only one pot. Okay, one pot is there, so means there is no any space. Okay, no space is there for the contraction and expansion, etc. No space is provided here, so so the pressure developed is more, and that pressure is developed by the arc itself. That's why it is called the self blast oil circuit breaker. Okay, therefore it is called the self blast oil circuit breaker. Now there are again three types according to construction. Okay, so first is the plain explosion pot. Okay, just we have seen. Then second is cross jet explosion pot, and third is self-compensated explosion pots. So everyone at least note the points, because there are different types, and any question can be asked in examination. So you should understand which type, means for example, if they are asking the cross jet explosion pot, then it is under which type of circuit breaker. Okay, so you have to remember for that, at least note the points, so that if you read it at least once, you will understand. Okay, so first one is the plain explosion, second cross jet, and third is self compensated explosion. Actually this is combination of this plain and cross jet explosion, so we'll see that. So first one is the plain explosion pot. So in this plain explosion pot, only 15 students. Okay, so in this plain explosion pot, you can see here, this is pot, one fixed contact, one moving contact is there. Very simple construction. Okay, so it has a rigid cylinder insulating material which encloses the contacts, and when there is a fault occurs in the system, the contacts will get separate and arc will be struck between them. So actually these two contacts are close. Okay, always remember the circuit breaker contacts are always close, and when these two contacts will, when the fault will occur, these two contacts will get separated. Okay, and when they get separated, the arc will be produced, between them, and the heat of arc will decompose the oil into gas at a very high pressure. Just we have seen in the cell blast. Okay, so the same process is here also. Means when the arc will be produced, that arc will decompose the oil, okay, into gases, okay, and at very high pressure in the pot, and this high pressure will force the oil and gas through the arc path, will extinguish the arc. When these gases will be produced, that gas and your arc, and your oil will extinguish that arc. Okay, so here this arc will be produced here. So that air bubble is also here. So that gas pressure, and already that oil is also cooling that arc. It is not only for the interruption but also for the cooling purpose of this circuit breaker. Okay, so that gas and the oil, they will extinguish this arc. Means these particles get deionized there, and slowly your arc get extinguished here. So if the final arc extinction is not done still, then the moving contact will move down and will responsible for the rush of gas and oil through the throat, which immediately interrupt the arc. So if what happens if the arc is still not extinguished? म्हणजे gas, by using the gas and the oil, if your arc is not extinguishing, what happens? This contact will move again down. Okay, again down, and whatever be the oil will be there, and gas will be there, it will come out here. Okay, so this contact is here now. This moving contact is again moved down, and whatever be the gases, high pressure gases and oil will come through this throat, and your arc will be extinguished. Okay, because here we are lengthening the arc. Okay, and when we lengthen this arc, means when we increase the length of arc, then also the arc get extinguished. Okay, so this method of arc extension is not suitable for very low and very high fault currents. So this is suitable for the medium value of fault current. Okay, suitable for medium value of fault current. So remember this. This is the plain explosion pot. It is coming under which type of circuit breaker? This plain explosion pot is coming under which type of circuit breaker? Yes, anyone? Coming under which type of circuit breaker? Tushar, Aditya, Pooja. Yes, anyone? This is coming under which type of circuit breaker? What are the types of circuit breaker? Poonam, Shraddha, who is present in the class? Shubham, Shantanu, who is present? Yes, Kundan Singh, present na? Ashwini, is anyone present in the class, or only I'm speaking there? Huh? What's
Yes,
going
ma'am.
on? So just tell me, this plain explosion pot is under which type of circuit breaker? This is which type of circuit breaker? Just tell me, is this air circuit breaker or oil circuit breaker? Lectures going on, going on. Yes, Shraddha.
Yes, ma'am.
So which type of circuit breaker is this plain explosion pot? Coming under which type of circuit breaker? Yes, no one knows. Vaibhav, Pooja. Okay. So here, this explosion pot, remember this is plain explosion pot and it is a one type of oil circuit breaker, and in oil circuit breaker there is a self blast circuit breakers. So under self blast, these are the three types. Okay, plain explosion, cross jet, and third is the combination of this plain and cross jet. Okay, so this is the plain explosion pot we have just discussed. Then second type of the self blast circuit breaker is the cross jet explosion pot. Okay, so in this cross jet explosion pot, uh, just see here. Again, there is a pot. Okay, so this is one pot, but why it is called the cross jet explosion pot? Because here, uh, here the arc splitters are used. Okay, arc splitters are used, and there are actually two parts. Okay, two parts. So this is the back passage. Okay, this is the back passage. Okay, and again it is having two contacts. One is the fixed contact and second is the moving contact. Okay, so the same like previous one, concentrate, same like the plain explosion pot, having the fixed contact, second is moving contact. Okay, now this is the back passage, and this is the path of the oil cooling. So this field is this pot is filled with the oil. Okay, and this is the arc developed in between these two contacts. When we are separating the two contacts, then uh, this is the process. Okay, now the arc splitters are used. Now why these arc splitters are used, we have seen in last lecture, we have seen in fifth chapter only, circuit breakers. Why the arc splitters are used? Yes, anyone? Why arc splitters are used? Yes. Now we are using, actually we have to extinguish the arc. This is our main aim. And for arc extinction, there are different methods. So we are lengthening the arc. For example, if we increase the length of arc, then also the arc can extinguish fastly. Then we can increase the cross sectional area. Okay. So by changing that cross sectional area also, we can extinguish the arc easily. And third type is the arc splitters. By using arc splitters, म्हणजे काय करतोय आपण, that developed arc we are splitting. Okay, splitting means we are giving different wedges. Okay, we are just splitting that arc. That is also one way of arc extension. Okay, so this is cross jet explosion pot, and this is the construction. Now, when the fault occurs, when under normal operating conditions, these two contacts are closed. Okay, these two contacts are closed. That is the fixed and moving. And when the fault will occur, this moving contact will separate from the fixed contact. And when this will separate, the arc will be struck between the two contacts. Okay, so when the arc is struck, that arc is at top of the pot. Okay, that arc will be struck at the top of the pot, and the gas generated by the arc exerts fresh pressure on the oil in the back passage. So when this arc will be developed, actually you can see there are two parts, means one cross section is there. Okay, so here when we are separating the contacts, that time the arc will be developed in this back passage, and it will heat the oil, and the pressure will be developed by that gases, okay, on this oil, and this is happening in this passage only. And when the moving contact uncovers the arc splitter ducts, the fresh oil is forced across the arc path. Means what happens when this is the moving contact, and this moving contact is coming up to this point only. Means this is the fresh oil already there, and when the arc will be developed, this oil, the oil in this upper part, that is the back passage, will get heated there. Okay, that oil get heated, and it will produce this oil will produce the pressure also on that that arc will produce the pressure on that oil also in this back passage only. But this oil is as it is. Okay, this oil is as it is. So what happens when this arc will be developed, after some time, we are moving this contact in the downward direction again. So at start actually this oil is good, means it is not heated. It is not heated because it is covered by this moving contact, and when this moving contact uncovers these arc splitters, means actually these arc splitters are covered by this moving contact, but when it will uncover, means when this moving contact again is moved in the downward direction. So means it is uncovered, this uncovers these arc splitters, then this fresh oil is forced अक्रॉस द पाथ ऑफ आर्क. म्हणजे काय होतं इथे, हे जे कॉन्टॅक्ट आहेत ते कॉन्टॅक्ट काय करतोय आपण, डाऊनवर्ड डिरेक्शनला मूव्ह करतो. डाऊनवर्ड डिरेक्शनला मूव्ह केल्यानंतर या आर्कची लेंथ इन्क्रीज होते, आणि इथे जे असणार फ्रेश ऑइल आहे, दॅट फ्रेश ऑइल विल बी that fresh oil will be used as a arc winching material here. And so thus the arc is driven sideways into the arc splitters, which increases the arc length and cause the arc extension. Okay, so by using these arc splitters, your arc get extinguished there, and it is suitable for heavy fault currents. Remember, this cross jet explosion pod is used for the heavy fault current. Okay, means what is the advantage, that whole oil is not decomposed here. Okay, the whole oil is not decomposed here. So whatever be the oil available in this upper part, that is the back passage, that oil will extinguish that arc, and if that arc remains again, it will be cooled or extinguished by these arc splitters. Okay. So advantage, and this cross jet explosion pod is suitable for heavy fault currents. So plain explosion pot is suitable for which type of fault currents? High, low, या medium? Yes. Hello. The plain explosion pot was suitable for which type of fault currents? High या low या medium? What's going on? Swapnali? Swapnali, roll number 28. Saurabh. When you join lecture, Saurabh? So who is present in the lecture? Just unmute you. Unmute those who are present in lecture. No one is present.
Yes, madam.
So where are you, Kiran? So just tell me now, if you are present, just tell me this plain cell glass circuit breaker is used for which type of fault currents? Means it is suitable for which type of fault currents? Low, medium, या high? I don't know how you are doing your lectures. Okay, 2 students left when I started asking questions. Okay. So this plain explosion pot is used for the medium fault currents, remember, and this cross jet for the heavy fault currents or high fault currents. Okay. Then third is the self-compensated explosion pot. Okay, self-compensated explosion pot. Now here also we are using pot, the same like the plane, but again here we are using arc splitters. That's why I'm saying that this is the combination of the plane explosion pot and the cross jet explosion pot. Okay, so again fixed contacts, moving contacts, then arc splitters are there. This is the cross explosion pot. That's why, and one is the plane explosion pot. Means here we are using the simple fixed and moving contacts, and the pot is used here. So this is suitable for large variety of fault currents, means in all sections, means for low, medium and high we can use this. And the upper part is cross jet and lower one is the plain explosion pot. Okay. When there is a short circuit current, the rate of generation of gas is very high and it behaves like a cross jet explosion pot, and arc extinction is done when the moving contact uncovers the first and second arc splitters duct. Okay, so when any short circuit will happen, means for heavy currents, that time this cross-jet explosion pot will work there. Okay, cross-jet explosion pot is working, which is the upper part here. Okay, so when the short circuit will happen, there is very high fault current. That time the gases will be generated that are also high, and the high pressure will be developed there. And that time your cross-jet explosion pot will work, and the arc extension will be done there. Arc extension will be done. And at that time, this moving contact, actually this fixed and moving contact are close. So when this arc, when the fault will be occurred, these two contacts get separated there, but the arc will be struck between them. So for cooling that arc, we are using these pots. Okay, we are using this pot. So by using the oil and the gases produced, also the that arc will be extinguished. Also, when short circuit will happen, the current is of high rating. That time this moving contact is again moved down, so that these arc splitters will work there. Means the arc will be extinguished by using these arc splitters. Okay, uh, and means the length of arc is increased and the arc will be extinguished there. So this is the advantage of that self-compensated explosion pot, is that when the high currents are there, the cross-jet explosion pot will be worked there. And when there are low currents, or when there is a low short circuit current, the rate of gas generation is lower, and tip of moving contact has time to reach the lower chamber. Okay. Means the gases produced are also low, because the current due to that arc produced is also low there. Okay. And when that current is low, it will act as a plain explosion pot, and when the current value is high, this pot will act as a cross jet explosion pot, or it will work as like that. So this is very suitable in all ranges. Means if we want to use for the low, we can use. You if you want to use for the high, for that purpose also it can be used. So these are the three types of this self blast circuit breakers, self blast oil circuit breakers. First is the plain explosion pot. Second is which one? Cross jet explosion pot. And third is the self compensated explosion pot. Self compensated explosion pot. So these are the three types, remember. Okay. So समजलंय का हे सगळ्यांना? Yes or no? Three types are under the self blast circuit breakers. Now the second type of the oil circuit breaker is the forced blast oil circuit breakers. Okay, forced blast oil circuit breaker. So what is the difference between self blast and forced blast oil circuit breakers? I told you. What is difference between forced blast and self blast oil circuit breakers? Yes, anyone? What is the name? In self blast circuit breaker, the arc itself is used for its extension. Okay, and here we have in force blast we have to apply some force. Means we have to apply some mechanic, so that the arc can be extinguished. म्हणजे सेल्फ ब्लास्ट मध्ये काय होते, जी काही आर्क प्रोड्यूस होते ती आर्कच काय करते, हीट स्वतःची प्रोड्यूस करते आणि जे काही ऑइल आहे ते गॅसेस प्रोड्यूस करून ते आर्क एक्सटिंग्विश होते. ओके. So in force blast oil circuit breakers, we are using some mechanical part, that is we are using the piston here. Okay. So here you can see the diagram. So again there are two contacts. One is the fixed contact, second is the moving contact, and here the piston is used. Okay, here the piston is used for the arc extension. Okay, for the arc extension. So we'll see the working. So in the self blast oil circuit breakers, so arc itself generate necessary pressure for its extension. म्हणजे जे काही प्रेशर त्या पॉट मध्ये डेव्हलप होते ती आर्क स्वतःच क्रिएट करते. ओके. बट these circuit breakers means these self blast circuit breakers has a limitation that the arcing time is increased and operation is inconsistent when they are dealing with the currents lower than the rated value. Okay. So whatever be the rated value, if the current is lower than the rated value, okay, means every equipment is having its rated value. If you consider the fuse also, you know that there are some 5 ampere, 10 ampere, 20 ampere fuses. So everything has a rated value. So when these circuit breakers, when the cell plus circuit breakers are operating under the rated value or at lower value than the rated current, that time this is taking some time. Okay, means that arcing time will be increased and the operation is not consistent. Okay, it is not consistent. So this is the drawback or one limitation of the force blast the cell blast circuit breakers. So this difficulty is overcome by the force blast circuit breakers in which a necessary pressure is generated by external mechanical means. Means a piston is directly coupled with the moving contact so that when a fault will occur, the moving contact will move and the piston forces a jet of oil towards the arc to extinguish it. Okay, means what is happening there? So when any fault will occur, that moving contact means that moving contact is coupled with the piston, and when the fault will occur, that moving contact will move that piston so that the arc will be extinguished. Okay. And it is independent of the fault current. म्हणजे means when the fault current is more, we are using the cross state. When the fault current is low, we are using for medium we are using the plane, and the combination can be used for the low to high, right? So but these force blast oil circuit breakers can be used for any type of fault current, means it is independent of the fault current. Okay, means arc can be extinguished, so that arc can be produced by any of the type of the fault. Okay. So this force blast oil circuit breaker is having some advantages. That is, since the oil pressure developed is independent of fault current to be interrupted, the performance at low currents is more consistent than with self blast oil circuit breakers. Okay, कारण सेल्फ ब्लास्ट मध्ये काय होते, आपण जो प्लेन आहे तो मीडियम साठी यूज करतोय, क्रॉस जेट आहे तो हाय साठी करतोय. पण बट इफ देर इज लो करंट, that time its consistency is low. Okay, so just we have seen that is the drawback that it is not consistent. So, but this cross jet, this force blast oil circuit breakers are consistent for the low currents also, and the quantity of oil required is reduced considerably. Okay, so as we are using some mechanism, that is we are using the piston to extinguish the arc, so the oil required is also reduced, means the quantity of oil required is reduced considerably. So समजले. फोर्स ब्लास्ट सेल्फ ब्लास्ट मध्ये काय करतो आपण, तर आर्क स्वतःला विझवण्याचं काम करते, आणि फोर्स ब्लास्ट मध्ये काय आहे, तर आपण पिस्टॉन यूज करतोय आर्क एक्सटिंग्विश करण्यासाठी. आणि सेल्फ ब्लास्ट मध्ये काय आहे, तर मीडियम किंवा हाय रेंजचे जे करंट्स आहेत, त्यामुळं प्रोड्यूस होणारी जी आर्क आहेत ते आपण एक्सटिंग्विश करू शकतो. पण लो करंट जे आहेत तर ते काय आपण एक्सटिंग्विश करू शकत नाही. तर त्यासाठी आपण काय करतोय, तर फोर्स ब्लास्ट ऑइल सर्किट ब्रेकर्स यूज करतोय. So in force blast oil circuit breaker, we can consistently extinguish the arc which is developed by the low currents also. Okay, so these are some differences, and remember this, and all the types also. Now, the last point of the oil circuit breaker is the low oil circuit breakers. Low oil circuit breakers. Low, or it is also called the minimum oil circuit breaker. This is very important, and it is mostly asked in examination also. Okay, frequently asked in examination. Low, or it is also called the minimum oil circuit breaker. Okay, so here we'll first see the construction. I think the figure is visible to all. You can just zoom this figure. So every time remember, for any circuit breaker there is a fixed contact and moving contact. Okay, now बरे समजलंय का सगळ्यांना आधीच? I hope yes. Okay, now this is minimum oil circuit breaker or low oil circuit breaker. Name is saying that the oil used is less. Okay, so here it is having the fixed contact and moving contact. So you can see here, this is the fixed contact, and this one is the moving contact, and this is the operating rod. Okay, one is the operating rod which is used to close and open the contacts of circuit breaker. Okay, then from top will come, this is the top chamber. This circuit breaker is inside this chamber, one chamber is there. So the top chamber is there. Okay, this top chamber is nothing but some space is given for the oil expansion and contraction. This is the gas vent, the breather, just like your transformer. Okay, then this is the fixed contact, okay, which is held here. Then fixed contact, moving contact is there. This is the circuit breaking chamber. This whole chamber is the circuit breaking chamber, and this is the arc extinction device. Okay, means it is used for the arc quenching. Okay, this is arc extinction device. Then this is the supporting chamber. This one is the supporting chamber, and this upper part is the circuit breaking chamber. Okay, and drain valve is there for drawing the oil here. Okay, so simple construction is there, but you have to remember. So concentrate for this. This is low oil circuit breaker. So in this bulk or in this sorry, or it is also called minimum oil circuit breaker. So in bulk oil circuit breakers, oil has to perform two functions. Okay, oil has to perform two functions. Uh, so which one? In bulk oil circuit breaker, oil was performing two functions. Which were those? We are using the oil. We were using oil there in large quantity. Large quantity oil was used there. The two functions performed were, the first is the arc extension, right? The first was the arc extension and second was the insulation. म्हणजे काय करत होतो ऑइल? आर्क एक्सटेंड पण करत होता आणि इन्सुलेशन पण प्रोव्हाइड करत होतो. बट हिअर what we are using here very low oil, and that oil is used only for the arc extension, not as a insulating material. Okay, we are not using this oil for the insulation purpose. It is used only for the arc extension. Okay, so the firstly, in the bulk oil circuit breakers, the arc acts as an arc quenching material and also insulating the live parts from the earth. Okay, means arc is operated as a arc quenching material or arc extension material and also an insulating material. But in these low oil circuit breakers, only a small percentage of oil is actually used for the arc extension, while the major part is utilized for insulation purposes. Okay. Sorry, in bulk oil circuit breakers. And that's why we are requiring the more quantity of the oil. That's why it is called the bulk oil circuit breaker. But in these low oil circuit breakers, we are using very less quantity of oil. That is nothing but only 10% of oil we are using for the arc extension. Okay. So for this reason, the quantity of oil in the bulk oil circuit breaker reaches a very high figure as the system voltage increases. जो बल्क ऑइल सर्किट ब्रेकर मध्ये काय होतं, ज्यावेळी आपण व्होल्टेज इन्क्रीज करतो, for high value of voltage we have to increase that oil level also. Okay, because for both purposes it is used. Now this is not increasing the expenses only, but also the tank size and weight of the breaker, but it also increase the fire risk and maintenance problems. Okay, so when we are using the bulk oil circuit breakers, these bulk oil circuit breakers are increasing the cost, the total tank size and the weight of the breaker also. And as we are using this oil for the arc extension and for arc cooling also, it's having the risk of fire and it is having the maintenance problem also. But in low oil circuit breakers, we are using only the 10% of oil. So a low oil circuit breaker employs solid materials for insulation purposes and uses a small quantity of oil which is just sufficient for the arc extension. Okay, means for the arc extension only we are using the 10% of oil. We are using 10% of oil as compared to the bulk oil circuit breakers here, and that oil is used for the arc extension only, and for cooling the other materials, okay, we are using this as solid materials, okay, for the insulation purpose. Now as regards quenching the arc, the oil behaves identically in bulk as well as low oil circuit breakers. Okay, so means the process is same because we are using oil as a arc quenching material, and by using arc control devices, the arc extension can be further facilitated in the low oil circuit breakers. Okay, so means there are different arc control devices. Here you can see that arc control device here, arc extension device is used. So by using this device also we can extinguish the arc there. Okay, so the construction again it is explained. So the circuit breaking chambers require a small volume of oil which is just enough for the arc extension, means upper part. Okay, upper part, that is the circuit breaking chamber. It contains very less quantity of oil which is required only for the only for the arc extension, and that is the 10% of oil, and the amount of oil to be replaced is reduced as the oil in the supporting chamber does not get contaminated by the arc. Okay, means that oil we are continuously replacing. Okay, we are replacing, but that replacement is reduced as compared to the bulk oil circuit breakers, because here we are using only 10% of oil, means the oil contamination is also get reduced there. Then supporting chamber is there. Upper part is the circuit breaking chamber and lower one is the supporting chamber. You can see here, this upper part is circuit breaking chamber and this lower part is the supporting chamber. Okay, so this supporting chamber, it is a porcelain chamber mounted on a metal chamber, and it is filled with oil which is physically separated from the oil in the circuit breaking compartment. Means upper compartment is different and lower compartment is also there, means that is also filled with oil, but it is separated from the upper part, and the oil inside the supporting chamber and annular space formed between the porcelain insulation and backlash paper is employed for the insulation purposes only. Okay, so whatever be the oil inside that supporting chamber, okay, and that space between the porcelain insulation and backlash paper is employed for the insulation purpose only, means this oil is not used for the arc extension, that is used for the insulation purpose only. Okay, the next one, the first part, that is the upper part, is the circuit breaking chamber. So this circuit breaking chamber is also a porcelain enclosure mounted on the top of supporting compartment, and it is filled with oil, and it has the upper and lower fixed contacts, moving contacts, and turbulator. Okay, so this circuit breaking chamber काय काय fixed contact, moving contact, and this is turbulator. Turbulator is nothing but this is the arc extension device. Okay, it is nothing but arc extension device it contains. Okay, and the last one is the top chamber. This it is a metal chamber and is mounted on the circuit breaking chamber. Okay, so above this there is a top chamber and it provides expansion space for the oil in the circuit breaking compartment. Okay, means when the oil will get heated, that time oil get expanded. So for that it requires some space. So this top chamber is provided for when your oil will expand and contract. Okay. So operation of the circuit breaker. So under normal operating conditions, the contacts remain engaged with the upper fixed contact. Means the two contacts get close that time when under normal operating conditions, and when the fault will occur, that moving contact is pulled down by the tripping springs and an arc is struck. Okay. So here this spring is there. So when that fault will occur, this moving contact will move down here, will move down, and the arc will be produced. Okay, or arc will be struck between these two contacts, and the arc energy vaporizes the oil and produces gases under high pressure. So when the arc will be developed, that arc energy will vaporize the oil and it will produce the gases under high pressure, and the action constrains the oil to pass through the central hole in the moving contact and results in forcing series of oil through the respective passages of the tabulator. This same process means uh, when the heat will be developed, that time it will produce the gases, okay, gases, and uh, these gases will develop the pressure, okay, and the arc will be extinguished there, and that oil will pass through the central hole in the moving contact and results in forcing series of oil through the respective passages of the tabulator. Means here this this arc extension device will be used for the extension of the arc there, okay. And the process of tabulation is orderly one in which the sections of the arc are successively quenched, okay. Means that tabulator is used, means some parts of that arc will be extinguished one by one there, okay. And the streams of oil moving across the each section in turn and bearing away its gases, okay. So in this way your arc will be extinguished. So this minimum oil circuit breaker is also having some advantages and disadvantages. So advantages are it requires less quantity of oil and it requires smaller space. Only 10% of oil we are using, then it requires smaller space, means the space required is also low. There is reduced risk of fire, means as the quantity of oil used is very low, that is only 10%, and other we are using as a insulation purpose only, means we are using the solid materials for providing insulation. That's why the risk of fire is also low, and maintenance problems are also reduced because we are using less quantity of oil there. Now the disadvantages are due to smaller quantity of oil, the degree of carbonization is reduced. Okay, means uh, what happened? We are using less oil. Okay, that's why the carbonization is increased because we are using less quantity of oil. So whatever be the gases produced, so they are producing the carbon. So means, and the oil used is very low, means that oil get contaminated easily, okay, that get easily. So also there is difficulty of removing gases from the contact space in the time, okay, because we are using less oil. Then the dielectric strength of the oil deteriorates rapidly due to high degree of carbonization, okay. Means as we are using very less oil, that oil will easily get deteriorated and we have to replace that oil every, means frequently. So these are the disadvantages of this minimum oil circuit breakers, okay. But sometimes these circuit breakers are used, okay, because they are having some advantages also, okay. So to this point we have covered all the oil circuit breakers, that is the bulk oil circuit breakers and minimum oil circuit breakers, okay. So there are different types of these circuit breakers. Remember all, here we covered all these oil circuit breakers, both bulk oil and low oil or minimum oil. Under this bulk oil, again different types. So one part we covered here. Now in tomorrow's lecture, we'll see these oilless circuit breakers, that is air brake, air blast, SF6 and vacuum circuit breaker, and at last we'll see this DC circuit breaker, that is the HVDC circuit breaker. So if you are having any doubt, you can share. Any doubt? समजलंय का सगळ्यांना? Yes or no? शंतनू? अश्विनी? स्नेहल? समजलंय का नाही? दीपाली? Okay. So no problem. We'll stop here now. We'll see the next part in remaining lecture. We'll cover this chapter within 2 lectures only now, because only now the oilless circuit breakers and DC circuit breakers are remaining. Okay. So for today, we'll stop here. Thank you all. Have a nice day and all the best. Thank you.